and thank you, everybody, for your patience. Maybe company building is too pretentious a title. It really should be a few technical techniques about that go into company building. The first one is about collecting people, second about presenting ideas, and third, just a few thoughts about risk. KR covered that fairly extensively this morning. I'll just give you a 2-minute version. So, and I know we are running a little bit behind, but hopefully this is all useful. I just want to say, every time I hear the set of companies that just talk this out of the box, it just boggles my mind. From $4 fuel cells to nuclear reactors, the creativity in this group is just amazing. From precision agriculture to redoing wireless, something people said couldn't be done, frankly. So let me talk about gene pool engineering and exercise for a company we are just about to start. We decided to use this example because we are actually going through a real exercise. And I want to emphasize this is an essential component, and I personally believe the single largest risk reduction any company can do. So let me talk about it. ePowerSoft is in high efficiency power electronics devices. That's probably a little less relevant based on some new technology. I won't spend any time on it. You can draw up a traditional org chart and start filling it. That's the traditional way to handle staffing. And you do need a CFO at the right time. You do need a VP of engineering. You do need a VP of marketing. I'm not saying functional needs go away. But I think the far more important way to look at hiring is very, very differently. This, to me, is functional hiring. Gene pool engineering is a whole different process. You start with identifying your risks, and you pick talent that reduces your risk. And your first 20 people may not have a VP of engineering, may not have a VP of marketing, may not even have a CEO. It may be tuned to your risks. For each risk, locate center of excellence, list 3 experts at each center of excellence. Candidate list is your gene pool for recruiting. It is the gene pool that will reduce your risks. And company building is more about reducing risks, and I'll come back to that at the end, than about functionally complete organizations. So what did we do in PowerSoft? And I won't go into the details, and some of the font is small purposely so you don't have to bother reading it. Read the stuff in red, that's all you meant to read. We identified the top 5 risks. And those risks were going to determine whether we were going to be successful or fail. They had nothing to do with needing a tester, needing a testing engineer or a packaging engineer. So let's take these risks. Device engineering. We said, what is hard about it? This particular case, we needed enough heads, 4 heads, with slightly different characteristics. And we made a list of target companies that had that expertise. In each company, we then identified the names of the people who worked on device engineering, in some sense a priority, how good they were at device engineering. This gave us a map of everything we needed to reduce the device engineering risk. The second thing that was important was to make sure that we got device engineering expertise it wasn't about acquiring that expertise. And if I have time, I'll come back to this. It was about acquiring the diversity of experiences that people had had in these companies in doing device engineering. It was about collecting all the mistakes these companies had made in device engineering, because I was less interested in what was successful. It was the 100 things they tried before the one thing that was successful that was important to build into your company. In some sense, the failure set was more important than the success set, because our problem was a little different. And so diversity was very, very important. If we hired 2 great people from the same company, it was going to increase our risk, because there were fewer things we were not going to know that weren't worth trying. It would take longer to get there. You notice this difference. It's focused on risk. So if I got 2 great companies from TriQuint, 2 great engineers from TriQuint, even if the second one is better than the engineer I could hire from First Solar, it was still worth going after the engineer from First Solar, because he brought a different set of mistakes that organization had made. That is something people almost never do. The second thing, First Solar, it's important to look outside the segment. If you're a catalyst company, look for people who are doing a different type of chemistry, not catalysts, because they bring a different perspective. Absolutely essential to get people from outside your segment, because most great innovations happen at the intersection of debates from very different points of view. Once you did that for all 5 risks, and again, you're not meant to read this, so I purposely made it small, you've engineered your gene pool to the specific risks you're trying to address. And there can be nothing more important for a company than having the ability to address the risks. Let me give you one other perspective. In 95% of the companies in our portfolio, and each one of you is probably a testimonial to this, the day you start your company, you think you know what the risks are. But in fact, the problems you run into generally that cause delays, that cause cost increases, that cause other issues are very different than the ones you respond. So in the general area of your gene risks, you're trying to collect the set of people not to do a functional task, because very likely you don't know what that important functional task is. You know roughly the area. You're trying to collect all the mistakes so you can rapidly go through problem solving. That is the difference between functional hiring and gene pool engineering.